All right, everyone, we have important breaking news. The Washington Post now reporting, according to DHS sources, that Ninajancowicz has effectively tendered her resignation as the head of Beijing Biden's Ministry of Truth, and that the entire premise, which was subjugate to DHS, Department of Homeland Security, of the disinformation department that they wanted to make, it's now on pause. They're putting it on hold. Now, this doesn't mean that the attempt goes away. Most likely what happens from here on out, Jankowicz goes on a pity me party, despite deserving every inch of scorn that she got. DHS then re-implements the plan with a different head, probably under a different name in the future. But I wanted to point one thing out. Link in the description, archived, of course, if you want to see the Washington Post's, again, pity party for Ninajancowicz on here. I'll get to that in a moment. This shows exactly what I said about 2 years ago when the Beijing Biden administration began. Well, a year and a half ago. You get it, it's close enough. It feels like more than 2 years. Feels like about 1,000 years since Beijing Biden started wrecking the country. And that's that ridicule and scorn are effective ways to create positive political change. There is no reason to be nice to people that want to destroy the republic. There's no reason to be nice or kind or hold back to people who have effectively been treasonous towards the civic goals that the United States was founded upon. This article talks about how trolls, evil far-right extremists coordinated to ridicule this group of people. Now, they focus solely on Jack Posobiec at one point in here, which is really funny. You know, the dude who's friendly with Mike Lindell. And I'm thinking to myself, it's very short-sighted, and this is classic Washington Post. They don't talk about any of the literally tens of thousands of other creators and influencers all across the broader tech world who also were ridiculing, in an organized fashion in some cases, this basic concept. And it wasn't just evil right-wingers. It wasn't just Lindell's fans, the ultra-MAGA crowd and stuff, which is literally name-dropped in here for a propagandistic purpose for the low-info readers of the Washington Post. I saw liberals ridiculing the concept. Certainly, the anti-SJW left even was ridiculing it, and most of them are a bunch of sellouts at this point. Now, there were liberals, and they were pointing out, and this is quite correct, it's poorly branded. The idea is so open-ended and vacuous that nobody even really knows what exactly is going to be going on with this particular anti-disinformation department. There were lies told right off the bat by the U.S. government regarding it. Remember, I can't remember exactly who it was. One of the Biden admin officials came out and said, no. We had a little bit of a problematic launch of the Ministry of Truth, which is basically what it is. It's very dystopian. What we should have been making it more clear. This isn't to look into Americans' communications. This has nothing to do with promoting censorship. It didn't help that Ninajancowicz herself literally has been promoting censorship since she was appointed to head this now defunct, at least temporarily, position. It's not about that. We're looking at foreign state disinfo. Russian, Chinese, wherever it happens to be from. We're going to analyze it, and then we're going to try to propose ways to stop it. And what I pointed out, and I think this is a week ago now, is that the only way to stop it would be to censor U.S. users. The whole idea of a propaganda aimed at the United States public would need, by default, to take off and become viral among a U.S. audience to be of any use. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of Russians trolling one another. It's a Chinese meme that falls flat. It doesn't circulate. 10 people have actually seen it. Well, again, if it's not memetic, if it doesn't go viral, if it doesn't spread to a U.S. audience, you wouldn't give a shit about it. It doesn't really matter. It's not influencing any U.S. voters. It's not influencing a U.S. business, etc., etc. That's not what you are going to focus on. You would need, by default, you would automatically, objectively need to focus on the spread of that memetic material among U.S. users. And so a lie was told by the head of DHS at the time with regards to the scope of this mission anyway. And even if you believe, well, I think we should do more about that propaganda from other countries, look at this article. What effectively is the excuse for it? The Biden admin failed to defend the concept and to defend Ninajancowicz. Poor person, poor rich kid, from being attacked by online trolls. They should have done more to defend her. Why? She effectively is a far leftoid. This article says, well, she was part of several nonpartisan think tanks. Which ones? Nonpartisans, yeah, the SPLC, I guess, or something like that. Totally nonpartisan at this point. The idea is that Ninajancowicz had a clear political motive, number one, was already proposing things that would not work in relation to tech, number two. Take Twitter, for an example. Her suggestion, and this is her own idea, this is not other people trolling, bullying, putting words in her mouth. This was her idea specifically as the potential head of this dystopian Ministry of Truth, was that on Twitter, for example, you should severely limit the number of people that get verified and allow verified people to edit other people's tweets. You would collapse the site by doing so. The site would not exist anymore. The first time that happened to anyone who had a reasonably high profile, therefore, in the context of disinformation from a foreign state, would actually have the influence to be of interest to the scope of the Ministry of Truth, the first time that happens, millions of people would flee the site. If anything, what would end up happening, if you were to put in the proposals that she herself had stupidly blundered into, would be that you would collapse the sites that you do have at least some influence over, and people would use other sites. Sites that were beyond the reach of the Ministry of Truth's capability to gull and cajole into actually cracking down on disinformation, or as I like to call it, determining what people can and cannot say and cannot read. Effectively, it's just censorship. And the propagandistic lie upon which the necessity of this is based, the Russia hoax mainly, is horseshit anyway. She has been peddling it now for a very long period of time. She will now, I predict, go on a pity me party. She'll talk about the evil misogynists, the evil far-right trolls. Probably Ultra MAGA will get mentioned there. I'm just wondering why none of the other groups of people that were outraged at this are mentioned, again, including a significant proportion at the very least, not necessarily a majority, but a significant proportion of left-wing content creators and influencers, and people who would be classed as like stuffy sweater liberals. In one sense, the very fact that the U.S. government under Joe Biden thought it necessary to create this group and pay for it, to pay potentially millions of dollars for these sorts of studies, is like basically like a Holt or a Lorenz at this point. In the context of having a near collapsed economy and not being able to pay your bills, already fell flat even just for economic pragmatists without a particular political angle to grind. So this is not the result of bullying. This is the result of universal scorn for a government program that was not pragmatic, about which DHS's head lied openly to the American people. We know that. It is objective. It was a lie. It's just like with the NSA and saying, no, Americans aren't having their phone data spied on. Well, a few iterations later, we found out that that certainly was not the case. It was lied about. It would have cost money, which we don't even have right now. We're deep in debt to ourselves and to foreign nations. And was being staffed, this group of people, by someone who is a vain ideologue and a massive egotist, who is too busy making dancing videos on fucking TikTok and weird shit like that. A true, basically, a millennial who has all of the tech finesse of a boomer. Oh yeah, I'm in my mid-30s. Let me go and make dancing videos and do the fake British accent thing. That'll go over really well. It won't get panned and ridiculed by people. Another thing that I would like to point out in brief is that it's very, very funny that the powers that be always cast off all forms of criticism of things that they like as trolling. Nobody can possibly simply have objection to anything that they are doing, thinking that it's too expensive, not pragmatic, not useful in some manner, or constitutionally abusive without being deemed a troll. Well, shit, I mean, I like to troll. I like posting about Andy Six on 4chan fairly routinely. This wasn't trolling, though. This is the government delving into a dystopian policy that never was necessary, will never be necessary. Foreign propaganda is not a prevalent threat to the United States democracy, aka the representative republic that it actually is. That's horseshit. It is a hoax. It does not exist. The biggest threat is from its own government, attempting things like this, to censor, to use corporations and either co-opting them or influencing them in some way, to control the flow of information between person and person. That's the biggest threat to free expression that the Western world faces. It's not, by the way, just in the United States, but this is a really great example of it. So, to the fellow clankers out there. We have played a role in successfully getting Ninajancowicz to resign. Good riddance. I hope she retires entirely from public life and goes and becomes a hermit. Go join a convent or something like that. You'd be doing more something useful for the world than the shit that you're doing right now. And as for the Biden admin, of course, we won't rest on our laurels. We fully expect that you will bring back the basic premise under a different name with someone else heading it. And you'll just hire another group, like the one that coined Ultra MAGA and King MAGA, ironically, to spend millions of dollars trying to rebrand it and sell it to the U.S. public again. Unfortunately for you, those focus groups take many, many months to work, and so you probably won't have the ability to do much after the midterms again. Good riddance to the asterisk administration as well in all of its ignominious unglory. That's about all. Peace out.